Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. Today in this video I'm going to check the Eachine LAL5 6S compatible 5-inch racing quadcopter. In this video I'm going to quickly go over its features and specs, show you how to set it up, and then head outdoors and test it out. At the moment of shooting this video, the LAL5 is available only in the plug-and-play version, which means that it doesn't come with a radio receiver and you will need to add your own one. The flight controller is already pre-configured to work with an S-Bus radio receiver on UR2 using this connector over here, and shortly I'm going to show you how to add an FrSky RXSR radio receiver. In terms of packaging, inside the box, along with the pre-assembled quadcopter, you can find a sheet of stickers, some zip ties, which can always be useful, 2 carbon fiber wrenches, and the famous Eachine AK-47 keychain holder, 2 sets of Dalprop T5046C propellers, a bag with some extra screws, an ND8 filter for the Caddx Tarsier camera, a spare rubber anti-skid battery sticker, 2 clockwise and 2 counterclockwise motor nuts, and a spare high-quality battery Velcro strap, which is probably made by RJX Hobby. In terms of components, the LAL5 is using massive 2507 1850 kV motors, which can handle up to 6S Lipo batteries. On the front of the quadcopter, well protected by this 3D printed TPU mount, you can find the camera unit of the Caddx Tarsier V2 FPV/HD recording camera. Its dual stack can be found on the back of the quadcopter, and it's mounted to the bottom plate using 20 by 20 mm mounting holes. The angle of the camera is adjustable, and I recommend to be careful when pushing the camera towards the bottom, since it can break the camera connector. After setting your favorite camera angle, I recommend to secure the screws on the sides in order to prevent jello in your HD footage. On the bottom of the stack, in the center of the quadcopter, you can find a 50 ampere LIHV 4-in-1 ESC, which can handle up to 60 ampere burst for 10 seconds. I'm not sure why, but they got pretty cheap with the motor wires, and they are pretty short, and if you have the time, I highly recommend to extend them. On top of the 4-in-1 ESC, you can find an F4 flight controller, which came pre-flashed with Betaflight 4.03. It features 5 free UART ports, so you can easily add accessories such as a GPS, which I'm going to do on a later video, and it also features a Bluetooth chip, so you can conveniently configure it on the go using SpeedyBees app. On top of the flight controller, you can find the Eachine TX805 VTX, which I've reviewed separately, so if you'd like, you can watch my review over here. It supports 40 channels, features smart audio and an MMCX connector, and has a selectable output strength of 25, 200, 600 and 800 mW. On the back of the quadcopter, mounted inside this 3D printed TPU mount, you can find a 2.5 dBi RCP antenna, which is connected to the VTX using an MMCX connector. On its sides you can find holes for mounting antenna tubes, which unfortunately are not included, and I recommend to get them separately. The weight of the Eachine LAL5, not including propellers and a radio receiver, is 394.5 grams, so it's definitely not a lightweight quadcopter. The wheelbase of the frame is 225 mm. The distance between the left motors and the right ones, and also between the back ones and the front ones, is 16 cm, so this frame features a true X pattern. In addition, this frame features replaceable arms with a thickness of 5 mm. The thickness of the bottom plate, middle plate and also the top plate is 1.8 mm, and even though by default the battery is designed to be mounted on the top of the quadcopter, you can also mount it on its bottom. Now I'm going to show you how to add the FrSky RXSR receiver to the Eachine LAL5, and basically this process is going to be identical when adding any type of S-Bus receivers. The plug that I'm going to use for connecting the receiver is this one. The left pin is the ground, the middle one is +5 volts, and the right one is the RC-in. The RC-in supports S-Bus, PPM, DSM and iBus, and on the flight controller you can find these 3 soldering pads. When the left one is soldered with the center one, which is the default option, the RC-in is going to be set to S-Bus, and if you would like to set it to PPM, DSM or iBus, you will need to remove the soldering joint and solder the right pad with the center one. In case you would like to add a TVS Crossfire receiver, you can use any of these 3 UART ports and power the receiver using the +5 volts and ground, either from this connector or from this one. The next thing that you need to do is to solder this 3-pins connector to your radio receiver. Basically what I've done is to solder the plus 5 volts to the plus 5 volts, ground to ground, and the RC in to the S-bus output of the RXR receiver. Then I recommend to use some heat rinks. Plug this connector back to the flight controller. Put the receiver on binding mode, which is normally done by holding the bind button while powering up the quadcopter. Bind the remote controller to your receiver. Connect the quadcopter to Betaflight. And now, as you're about to see, everything works out of the box when using an S-bus receiver, and I didn't even have to change any of the order of the channels. Now you have to make sure that everything works properly, so throttle is throttle, yaw is yaw, pitch is pitch, and roll is roll. I've already pre-configured this remote controller to output the RSSI value, so I'm going to select the RSSI channel as auxiliary number 3, and I have a separate guide that shows how to do it. The next thing that you need to do is to head over to the mode section and define your favorite modes. These are the ones that were predefined, and probably they are not going to suit your remote controller, so you have to adjust them according to your needs. After making sure that everything works properly, you can mount your receiver on top of the Caddx Tarsier stack using a double-sided tape and protect its antennas using this type of plastic tubes. In case you are not familiar with the Caddx Tarsier camera, in order to adjust its FPV settings, you will need to use an OSD control board and plug it to the board of the Caddx Tarsier camera using this connector. Both are not provided with the Eachine LAL5, and unless you need to change the aspect ratio and the picture format, which are by default 4:3 in PAL, you can just leave the settings just the way they are. In order to adjust the HD settings, you will need to turn on the Wi-Fi and connect to the camera using a dedicated app by Caddx. On my recent review of the Gepress King, I show how it's done, and you can check out my review over here. As I mentioned before, the flight controller of the Eachine LAL5 features an integrated Bluetooth chip. It's a really cool feature that will enable you to configure your flight controller on the go using SpeedyBees app, which is available both for iOS and Android. And this feature is going to be especially useful for iOS devices, since for Android you can simply use OTG cables. After hitting tap to start scanning on iOS devices, you can see that it discovered this Bluetooth device. And after clicking it, you can see that now we can see all the settings of the flight controller, and it responds just the way that it will respond on your computer. So you can adjust all the settings, access the CLI, adjust the OSD elements, and etc. The next thing that I've done is to head outdoors and test the LAL5 using 4S, 5S, and 6S Lipo batteries. In my opinion, the quadcopter performed better out of the box using the 5S Lipo battery, as it was underpowered with 4S, and with 6S I got a lot of vibrations, which can be probably solved after some PID tuning. The flight times using these batteries, as you're about to see, were pretty short, which leads me to the biggest issue of this quadcopter. Even though these motors looks pretty cool and add some bling to this quadcopter, 2507 is way too big for this quadcopter, and I think that it would have been a much better choice to bundle it with these racer style motors, which were recently released. So overall, I don't think that it's a bad product. However, if you're a beginner and you're looking for your first or second racing quadcopter, I think that the iFlight Nazgul 5 would be a better option, as it will provide you with a better value for your money, and you will also get a better flight time, which is very important for a beginner and for everyone, because you want to spend as much as you can in the air in order to gain some practice. Now I'm going to show the flight footage, and by the way, one thing that I forgot to mention is that it's highly recommended to zip tie the battery leads to the top plate, because otherwise it can get to the propellers and you can cut the battery wire, as happened to me. As always, I thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it and you find it useful. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comment section down below. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up if you like this video, and consider subscribing to my channel and hitting the notifications bell if you're not already subscribed. See you in my next videos, and goodbye.